Alright, sorry about that. Probably a little glitch in the audio there, perhaps. Oops. Oh, there you go. I didn't mean to heal my morale, but it probably needed it. Anyways.
As if it's self-explanatory. Beyond patriotism. A fact.
History, Detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries. The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed.
Ile-Marat.
In the DeLorean century, 380 years ago, they say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island, able to sustain up to 200 million people, in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is. I think it's fair to say so. Martinez is about 22 kilometers from the center of the world.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Soldering iron is the bank
Right
of
there.
the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her hand.
You gotta be dramatic here.
The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time.
Thank you,
There is
Inland
no
Empire.
recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
Just,
She
yeah, stay
observes
quiet.
Your eyes scanning the horizon, then breaks the silence, slowly.
We got another thought to deal with.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
I guess we can go into here mid-conversation, right? Yeah, we're talking Joyce. We should probably get rid of one of these. Jamais vu. There's nothing. That we need to stay for the keep for the body. I'd love to unlock something like that, but we don't have enough. We need to save up for the body investigation right now.
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something about a lowdown.
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions to ask, about even more fundamental aspects of reality. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Madame Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Alright,
It's better not to eat all your candy at once.
exactly. I'll get the
Indeed.
hint later.
I'm always at your service.
28%. 3%. That's scary. I mean, I might as well try one of these now. I don't want to try too many because I'm probably going to get hurt. I'm going to hurt myself trying to think of an object close to me, but we'll try it.
6 kilometers southwest in the Valley of Dogs. Junior officer Chad Timbrell takes aim at a rabid black dog licking its wounds in the grass.
Don't know what that means, but I love it.
To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again.
Who's Tequila Sunset? Is that me?
We always do.
You? You're an officer of the RCM. Preciso Mundo. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Is that why it's called Revachol?
Yes,
Revolutionary?
we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
He's being sarcastic.
Yes.
Yes, be less
That means
direct.
not de jure. The
De jure.
RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin. The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, three pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
Just like it always is, you know?
All three are good to know when we are out policing.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent, provisional rulers like it. Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you. The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown. They called it the international zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed. A true blue citizens' initiative. They will never forgive you.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Okay, different
Revachol to
perspective.
keep the peace in Revachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol. And
Let's
if
take
those
the compliment.
authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help.
3%, I feel like I should get bonuses for others
Glad to have
before I
been
go
of
on that.
assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Alright, now we ask this one.
It's
Yeah.
what you want to say, but it isn't that easy, is it?
Why not? I'm trying to throw her off. It's a tactic in
Look
Land
at that
Empire.
lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes, bub.
Don't call me bub.
Why, yes. Tucked away under that sturdy green raincoat, almost rustic in its simplicity, a silk shirt and matching scarf around her gentle throat, while dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. Her light green eyes scan you, full of knowledge and worry, wealth and all its possibilities. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say everything is possible.
Yeah, so
Now look at you,
that's good.
you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes. A scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead, and your underwear feels uncomfortable.
That sounds
You're
like
poor,
me.
poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too.
Yeah, that's why I like the
You
question.
think your little communism protects you from this feeling. No. The more demeaning it is to grovel at her feet.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask.
Volition, I got, okay. Okay, that was hyping me up for the check, now I gotta roll for it. Like I said, may as well do checks now while we can. I think it'll be good as a tactic, that's why I want to ask, so let's go for it.
I am sorry. It just doesn't come out of your mouth.
Alright, well,
What does is surprisingly eloquent, really. The last one, not the first three. Those are ape speak.
this one? I'll go for it.
My. Why'd you say that?
I don't know why I'm saying it. It's a tactic. Not the tactic I wanted, but I'll go for
That's
it.
garbage. You're a police officer. Shall we talk about something else, maybe?
Yeah, now you're confused, aren't you? That's my tactic right there. At work, baby. Now we get to questions. Wild
What
Pines.
we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
I mean, I can't really fight that too
The
hard.
Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain. Son Baptiste, elysium, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
That's ominous. Maybe if I phoned them now, we'll get more, like, on the conversation, because I had to know about the bookstore before I could. I mean, I don't know what would happen if I phoned it before I
Why,
visited.
thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
I'm not sure how much a real is in, like, our perspective. I think it's about $1 per.
A billion?
It's a number, officer. A big one. It's made of 1,000 millions. A million is made of 1,000 thousands.
Let's just
20
go for it.
billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. They all need to be paid. Then there are capital improvements, interest payments. A conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It's a tremendous responsibility. They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Easterlers 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain.
I like how she puts on the accent to say the city's name.
Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it. You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
Okay, I kind of gave her a bragging point there. That wasn't maybe the best.
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners?
I actually caught on to my
Who are
smartness.
responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system.
Oh,
Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her ward.
okay, I wanted to ask about the workers, but I mean, I kind of locked myself out of that line.
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Elements that gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus. Good luck is only kept in place by the vested interests of half the civilized world, including your own.
What the ma'am means is that the Emergencies Act and the RCM both get their authority from the coalition government.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place.
Okay, so maybe it could be like part of a negotiation tactic, it seems.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
Yeah.
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
I mean, that's kind of how unions work usually. Well, to some degree, isn't it?
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
I mean, but having overtime pay and medical plans are, like, perfectly reasonable things to expect from an employer, are they not?
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to, how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes. Every worker, a member of the board.
I wanna, yeah.
Then you might also like their other slogan. Demand democracy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Personally,
vibe
I
with
don't
it.
think it has the same pizzazzo as every worker a member of the board. It's quite
Yeah.
simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about what, about anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
Sounds sick.
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. They're
Yeah,
having a
go
blast.
for that.
But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assumed that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the bowyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
Oh, that's Manana. I gotta talk to him again.
This checks out.
Yeah, what about them?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
So they are,
It's
basically.
implied. She's open to discussing
To
this
some
matter with
degree.
you at a later occasion.
Yeah.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
Yeah.
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar. Have you seen him? Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they
Okay.
circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, We are forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Debardeurs Union is...
I don't like any of these options, really, so I'm just gonna go for the limp neutral.
Of course, officer.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
Her daughter, that's interesting, I
Downright
guess.
haunting, if you ask me. The Wild Pines suspected foul play, but what could they do? It was a union matter.
I'm sorry I'm not adding as much in this part, but it's gotten a lot, like, denser in that,
The
you know?
point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around Claire's. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help?
Okay, you know what? While we're thinking, I may as well just... let's get rid of this one. I can't. Oh, okay, so I just can't think about that right now. I mean, relatable. Okay. So I was thinking here, I think, given that I want to, I got 2 more dialogue options I'm gonna exhaust now. I think I'm going to split the recording here. You guys probably will have already noticed, but I'm more saying that for my own benefit. Let's keep on with the tree.
You have? And how did you like Mr. Clare?
What is a rainbow socialist?
Oh, come on now. He has his uses. How else would he have stayed in power all these years? Or wait, actually, corruption. That's how he's done it. Fantastic, worm-like corruption. Reaching into the bowels of the earth.
Worm.
The position of my unusual colleague does not reflect official policy. I hope you understand. The RCM does not pick sides.
Of course. And I don't expect you to share anything he told you with me. I'm not a corrupt worm myself. However, if you felt like discussing something, how could I stop you? Are we not human? Are we not curious to hear another person's take? It's only natural. We would only be gossiping.
Okay, I don't like your
Intellectually
their
speaking,
path either.
quite interesting to hear what she has to say about these things.
But getting her opinion would be useful.
Yes, your disgusting necktie agrees completely. Let's gossip.
Okay, thank you, Neck. I don't want to tell her either of these things, though. I don't think that's wise giving her that, volunteering that kind of information.
Of course, Detective. Should something come up later down the road, don't be afraid to drop by for a chat.
I'm gonna have to let my necktie
Until
down.
then, is there anything I can help you with?
That's
Quite a
her
few
last
things,
question
I'm
of the
afraid.
day, I guess.
The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41, Detective Dubois. I'm afraid Harry doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
Yeah, it's 'cause I'm a
Oh,
mess.
and what happened to yours, Detective?
Awkwardness washes over the conversation. The woman doesn't like this turn of events.
How can I forget? I was hoping your condition was rhetorical, Detective. A questioning technique.
It's a very common questioning technique. I have no idea what's happening around me.
sympathy for your highly unusual conditions, sir, and I believe you. But as it stands, I cannot share any confidential information until I've seen both your badges.
Fair play, but disgust.
I understand the dictates of protocol, ma'am, but is there no way around it?
Sorry, Kim.
I'm afraid not, Lieutenant. These are my employer's orders.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
Okay, 72%. I think that's as much benefit as we're gonna get. Let's push for it.
Feelings will guide the way.
Okay, that seems unfair.
I assure you, it is no small matter for me either. We all share the responsibility for disarming this situation. I hope you have a badge for me as soon as possible.
My rolls are really not going well for me in this one.
Trust me, officer, I am fully committed to resolving this impasse. This isn't some side gig for me.
She's silent. The wind flaps the sail above her.
Officer. You know, I don't mean to sound cold, but if you want something, you have to give something back. More than just guilt.
I could if I could roll
You're doing
for my
it.
life.
Despite your own best efforts, you're still getting it. Somehow.
I'll be frank with
Exactly.
you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something tangible. The Union is conducting drug trade out of the harbour. It's an open secret in Martinez. Surely it must not come as a complete surprise to the RCM either. Perhaps it's time to look into it. Or you can find your badge, which honestly seems like a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Okay. We'll deal with that. Oh, autosave.
Hey, you.
What's going on
Yes,
here?
You. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again.
What is happening now?
Yes, you're ready to start building communism again. You've built it before. They've built it before. Hasn't really worked out yet. But neither has love. Should we just stop building love, too?
Yeah,
This
probably.
conversation isn't really about love. Try to keep up, okay? This is about the communism you've promised to build.
When did I promise
Word on
that?
the street is it's going to be 10,000 times larger than any communism previously attempted. Is that true? You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie,
No, I
eat the
don't.
rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pockets.
I got
Literally
42.
murder all human beings, regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff.
I mean, the last one sounds kind of good.
Okay, not in so many words, but don't deny it. You're about to rip off that mask of social democracy and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that will devour and masticate mankind.
I think Kim wants to leave. I
Everyone
don't
can
blame
see
him.
that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Failure. It's about failure. Yes, abject failure. Total, irreversible defeat on all fronts. Absolutely vanquished, beaten, curb-stomped and pissed on. Until you came along. You will reverse the fortune of the workers of the world. You alone, against every living thing, against every human alive. 800 trillion real in the hands of an impossibly well-organized ruling class. Towering city blocks of bankmen who have the ears of prime ministers. Million-headed armies of nations and the love of your own mother. You against the atom.
What
the
is
charm
happening?
and the
Why is
where the
this
whole world failed.
now?
Matter failed to bend to human will. Human will failed to get out of bed and tie its laces. You alone, single-handedly, will rebuild the dreams of the working class. You are the last communist.
I'm a cop?
Now
What's
get to
happening?
work, comrade.
You know what? Whatever. Sure.
Oh yeah. Get the firing squads and the animal wagons ready. Too late to back out now. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few million eggs.
Okay, I'm having thoughts, Kim.
We should think about calling it a day, maybe. The nights are still miserably cold this time of year.
Yeah,
We
let's
should
go
take care
for
of
that.
that man. Let's talk to him anyway. An officer of the RCM shouldn't be sleeping in the streets. We'll figure something out.
Okay,
Though
thank
he
you,
finds
Kim.
this situation frustrating, he is doing his best to not make you feel any worse than you already do.
I like how he clearly really hates me and is just like trying his best to be sympathetic. I think we should need to put points into G's Inland Empire's High. Endurance? Is it? I'm not gonna do anything right now, but the one that'll let me survive looking at the body. I'm not gonna interact with that right now. I don't know what else it wants. There is stuff here to do. And yeah, I got thoughts. When did I get a white morning? Right, a while ago. I got 4 to think about. Ooh, it's -2 for visual calculus. That kind of sucks. Well, Kim wants to talk to me again.
Great as I hoped it would, detective.
Alright, we'll talk with him
Honestly,
too.
I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance and, not volunteer us to be her henchman.
Yeah, that's not what I wanted
This
either.
woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
Yeah.
He doesn't let it show, but there is a limit to how much the consequences of your unprofessional behavior can cost the investigation.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will, detective.
Should we... let's exhaust
No.
the
If
discussion.
there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we're siding with the Union, or that we are on their take. We'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done, and demand for her information on the lynching.
That's a good idea, actually.
Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large, and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
That's
You could
good.
request a new one from the station, but that would literally take months.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've exhausted everything immediate. And we will save. As I mentioned before, I am going to split this into 2 videos because it's literally an hour long. That's how long this conversation ended up being. I don't know how even split will be. I guess you guys will find that out, but I mean, it was something, right? I recorded for almost an hour. That's pretty cool, I guess. You could call it cool. You probably wouldn't, though.